to plunder, to slaughter, to steal. These things they misname empire, and where they make a wilderness, they call it peace. Garagos is a war god, not of strategy nor logistics, but of bloodshed, of destroying one's enemies, of plundering their lands, and of weaponry. His titles include God of War and Victory over Beasts, Lord of War, Master of all weapons, Lord of Conflict, and the Reaver. He is the blood-red mist that passes over one's eyes as all rational thought drowns in the rising tide of war. The Reaver emerges from the fog of war as a 15-foot-tall, rugged and imposing man with between 5 and 10 arms, each wielding a different weapon. From each emanates a red mist that swirls around him, surrounding him with a constant wailing noise that is said to be the lamentations of the dead as they are subsumed by the sea of battle. He is bare-chested, never wearing armor, and about his shoulders hangs a red cloak, rumored to be composed of the blood of his enemies. Some berserkers believe that when they rage, they briefly become avatars of the Lord of War. Meanwhile, he has also been known to show his approval through the appearance of tenacious and fierce mammals, such as wolverines, direwolves, weasels, wargs, or 8-legged burrowing mammals known as ormvorax, which are known for their ferocity and penchant for devouring gold. He is also associated with red and black gemstones, and he is said to leave them out for his followers to find, like drops of blood from a wounded prey. Long ago, during the ancient age of Netheril, Garagos was once venerated by the name of Tagus, being an honorable patron of war and the killing of beasts, especially dragons. This all changed when he was challenged by an upstart demigod named Tempus, who used the Reaver's blind rage against him and who stole the domain of war away. Retreating from public life, at some point Garagos had an affair with Auril, the winter goddess, leading to the birth of a demigod called Arctus the Walking Winter, being the first of a race of 100-foot-tall elemental ice creatures known as Zizikal. Arctus was apparently imprisoned within a glacier to contain his smouldering rage, and Garagos thus faded into legend once again. Though he would appear occasionally to stalk the halls of God's Walk Keep in the border kingdoms by the Lake of Steam. There he would attack anyone he met, including the avatars of Yergal, the god of the dead, and Shares, the goddess of passion, who both manifested to mock and to torture him, for he was unable to hurt their divine bodies. These fated meetings, marked by the Reaver's howls of rage and anguish, came to be known as the Meeting of the Three, or, among his followers, as the Howling. This was all until the time of troubles, when he suddenly appeared again within the city of Westgate on the Dragon Coast, massacring many civilians and guards before striding away into the sea. A decade later, he manifested again to slaughter a Marilith demon named Gluxana, who was impersonating him to lead a cult within the Vilhon Reach. After striking her down, he ordered her temple to be rebuilt in a manner more pleasing to his worship. The Reaver is a brutally single-minded warrior who only respects strength and violence. His temper is famously volatile, erupting into a maelstrom of destruction at a moment's notice and not subsiding for years at a time. He was once known for his cunning, but his defeat at the hands of Tempus finally pushed the bloodthirsty god over the edge, causing him to lose all sense of restraint. Some legends will claim that he became this way after he failed to win the heart of a secret lover, but more worldly theologians point out that this theory is moot, for any god, or any man for that matter, who abandons their humanity over an unrealized affection, well, they were set along a path of self-destruction long ago, and if not for the rejection, they would have found another reason to let darkness overtake them eventually. Garagos resents and despises Tempus, unable to forgive his usurper. But this enmity seems to be one-sided, as Tempus seems perfectly happy to keep the Reaver around like the relic of an old, obsolete form of warfare. The Reaver's resentment towards Red Knight, the goddess of strategy, however, is fully reciprocated. Much like a pair of positively charged magnets, they have never actually met, but they could not be further apart in attitude nor nature. Other grudges kept by the master of all weapons include those against Jergal and Shares, for being symbols of the satisfaction that he craves but can never truly enjoy. Interestingly, the Lord of War bids his followers to stay clear of his former ally Shah, the Mistress of the Night, for unknown reasons. He forbids them from either working for or against her plans. Once an inhabitant of the chaotic realm of Limbo, the Reaver's descent into insanity has seen him migrate to the maddening plane of Pandemonium. He also comes and goes freely from Tempus's domain, known as Warrior's Rest, on the first layer of Isgard. It consists of an immense battlefield where the slain are eternally reborn, where the Reaver may act as a peerless opponent for inhabitants who seek to test their skill against a mindlessly raging foe. Garagos is a demigod, a far cry from his former glory days, whilst his chaotic neutral alignment creeps closer to chaotic evil every day. His clerics adopt the War or the Tempest domain, and whilst they will normally turn and destroy undead, those who rebuke and command undead are increasingly common as Garagos himself becomes more and more deranged. His favoured weapon is a pinwheel of 5 black snaky arms, all of which ending in swords, which is known as the Tentacus, whilst his followers favour a sturdy longsword as the ultimate killing weapon. His holy time is the morning, when his casters pray for spells through rites of bloodletting and by anointing themselves with the blood of their enemies. Followers of the Reaver are known as Garagathans, and their ranks include various frenzied berserkers, bloodthirsty bandits, and veteran warriors. Some will rank among formal military orders, using their status and their authority to hide their crimes, whilst others are merely sadistic killers who live short, bloody lives. The Garagathan obsession with blood has even attracted a rare few vampires, especially those who embrace their feral natures. And finally, as the Reaver's alignment shifts further towards evil, he has begun to attract the worship of some orcs, goblins, kobolds, and tanarooks, being orcs whose blood has been tainted with demonic energy. The goal of all Garagathans is simple: to be covered in their enemy's blood at the end of a battle. Their philosophy is likewise simple, revering strength and despising weakness, leading to them often distrusting those who lean too heavily on strategy within combat. Indeed, few Garagathans can bring themselves to retreat from a fight, even in defeat. His clergy call themselves Blood Reavers, and very little except for a love of violence unites them. Each acts as a church unto themselves, and they will even go to war with one another over superiority. Some Blood Reavers will manipulate politics to initiate wars or to feed their appetites for chaos, whilst others are completely feral, barely recognizable as sentient beings beneath their many caked-on layers of blood. Thus, should 7 Blood Reavers ever gather in one place, it is commemorated with an impromptu rite known as a blood festival. This consists of a feast, or sometimes simply a meal, whereby some of the food must be butchered and devoured raw right there at the table. Their only other formal rite is called Full Blood, which may be initiated by any Garagathan present at a blood festival by offering up to the table the corpse of a dangerous creature that they slew themselves with no assistance from anyone, and they will also then paint their face with the sign of the Tentacus using the creature's blood. If the rite is deemed acceptable, they will then be trained as a Blood Reaver. Blood Reavers are not subtle, and they may often be spotted by their distinctive dress and weaponry. They will proudly display the Tentacus as a belt buckle or upon their chest, and many will carry sharpened versions of their holy symbol as a throwing weapon. Likewise, Blood Reavers wear their battle-worn and blood-stained armor whenever possible, even during ceremonial functions. They are also very fond of the color red, wearing red boots, red gloves, and red capes. And they'll show their rank and their prestige to one another by draping themselves in large volumes of crimson fabric, marked by rubies whenever possible. In most regards, the Blood Reaver hierarchy is quite one-sided. They call one another Blood Brother or Blood Sister, and address a superior as High Blood Brother or High Blood Sister, often shedding blood before such a hierarchy can be established. But where they have need of formal ranks, a novice is known as Supplicant, while an initiated clergy is called Priest of the Blood or Priestess of the Blood. Senior priests are Reaver Lord or Reaver Lady, and finally, the most powerful choose long titles for themselves that always begin with the word Favored. For example, Favored High Reaver, the mighty blood-drenched storm of crimson blades, or whatever. Today, Garagathans have failed to establish a foothold as a major power in any region, but they are more likely to be found amidst kingdoms surrounding the Sea of Fallen Stars than anywhere else. His few temples likewise reflect the places where his worship was once established. Formerly the center of his power during the Age of Mithranor, the Reaver maintains a single church in Westgate on the Dragon Coast. Likewise, since his slaying of the demon Glaxana, he now owns a temple in Chondath within the Vilhon Reach. As for his lost temples, perhaps there is none more sought after than his floating temple Akintair, formerly his capital enclave. Today, it is likely buried beneath the frozen deserts of Anorak, if indeed any part of it survived after Netheril was destroyed. Once Garagos commanded many military orders, but today he rules over a single crusading order known as the Brothers of Blood, who are dedicated to waging eternal war against the followers of Tempus, and who often lead short, brutal lives. In my world, although the gods appear to have abandoned humanity, a select few demigods still exist by physically manifesting themselves on the material plane, such as Gwairun Windstrom, the god of trackers, who now leads a secret court of Fae to attempt to drive civilization back from encroaching upon the wilds. As for the Reaver's fate, one might well point to the fact that my world diverged from official canon within an act of mindless slaughter. Deep within the Underdark, the male drow led a revolt against their female ruling class that quickly spiraled out of control, leading to the murder of their two goddesses, Lolth, the Spider Queen and matriarch of their race, and Kiaransali, the goddess of undeath. The bloody madness that then overtook the Underdark was said to be the catalyst for the wars, for the plagues, and for the unraveling of civilization that claimed the lives of nearly half of the population of Faerun. Though the surface world has since rebounded to become stronger than ever, the fate of the Underdark races remained unknown until recently. It was thought that the drow perhaps retreated from the world, beside the other elven races who wished to escape the slaughter. Or perhaps, having foolishly killed their entire female population, they simply died out. All until the fateful day when the Dark Elves emerged from the mountains, driving before them all of the beasts of the Underdark to attack the surface world, cloaking their conquered lands in eternal night. One might well wonder, is this an invasion, driven only by mindless evil and the death throes of a dying race? Or are the denizens of the Underdark in fact fleeing something darker than night? Something blood-soaked and beyond restraint that was stirred to awaken as their rebellion spiraled out of control. The dictates of the once and true Lord of War are to be raised like blades against your enemies and wielded as shields against your doubt. Weakness is to be despised, and there is nothing weaker than peace. War is the only honor, for it makes warriors strong, and strength is the enemy of weakness. Another great weakness is cowardice, for one must be a coward to avoid war. Warfare is head-to-head combat without subtlety, and thus to attack from behind or to rely upon the element of surprise is the way of the coward. And finally, the truest mark of cowardice is to retreat from battle even when all seems lost. For the warrior who gives himself completely to Garagos shall share in his strength.